You know those kids who do the most in school? Yeah, of course you do. The kids your teachers use as a shining example of what a good student is. You know, every parent's dream.
You are a parent's wet dream. Okay?
The kids who ace every test, win all the awards, get all the praise. Look, don't be mad at them. They're absolutely killing it. But I wonder sometimes, are they really happy? Do they stay that way forever, or do they change as they get older? Well, let me tell you about my experience and how I make sense of all of this. I want to talk a bit about my experience with school and the whole idea of success from what I knew or what I was told growing up until college, when my perspective completely changed. As kids, we're all told that we have to be the best in everything, in every single subject in school. And I'll tell you, Nigerians, we pride ourselves on being the best in everything. And growing up, that message, that attitude was constantly drummed into my head, whether I liked it or not. This pursuit of excellence, more so academic excellence for the sake of this video, is a shared reality between every Nigerian kid. And of course, this isn't an exclusively Nigerian thing. You can all relate regardless of where you're from. But I'll just use my Nigerian background and personal experience as a reference point for this video. Let's start back in middle school. I was one of those kids who dedicated their life to excellence. If I got anything that wasn't a 95 or above, I would develop this complex. Like, yeah, 94 is good, it's an A minus, but that minus is killing me. I want it to be 100. I should have made it 100. And I would just focus on the fact that I didn't get 100 the whole day. I developed what I would now call a toxic pursuit of excellence mindset. And this was because I was used to hearing from my parents, hostile parents, guardians, mentors, teachers, whoever. What happens to the other 5% if I got a 95? Or sometimes, look what your mates got. Do they have 2 heads? You can do just as well. Or if I didn't do well on a test, this is not you. You are better than this. This is not who you are. And as a middle school kid, I wasn't mature enough to view my grades as my own instead of in relation to other people's grades. So naturally, I would compare myself to the other smart kids in the class, and I would tell myself I have to get better than everybody in the class next time. But sometimes when I would study extremely hard for a test and would end up getting decent grades, I would just want to hear words of affirmation from adults, especially when the test was really hard. Just a simple, oh, don't worry about it, you did your best, that's all that matters. But sometimes I wouldn't get that, and it would add to my frustration. Over time, in addition to trying to be one of the top students in the class, I would begin to care more about doing well on tests so that I could get that positive reinforcement, that validation that I felt I needed, instead of just the personal satisfaction of being comfortable with the fact that I did my best on the test. And internalizing all of this created some serious performance anxiety on tests, especially math tests, because math was my banana peel subject.
Math is a really cool thing. So get off your act, let's do some math. Math, 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 math.
It's funny to think about now, but I remember I used to write these little prayers on my tests before handing them in, like, oh God, please let me do well on my math test. And my math teacher, she would write amen underneath my prayer and still hand me my 76%. The end of the school year was like the culmination of this pursuit of excellence. That was when your efforts would be rewarded with awards. And it wasn't just that I wanted to get awards, I desperately needed them. During award ceremonies, I would sit nervously just thinking, oh my God, what if I don't get an award today? I would have failed, and I don't want to fail. Looking back, I'm proud that I always ended up getting awards in middle school. I mean, after all, they are a product of your hard work, and it's nice to see your efforts rewarded. But the thing is, once you become so accustomed to these high standards of excellence, you expect nothing less for yourself, which is good. But that builds pressure, and as the pressure increases, it can all become a bit toxic if we're not careful. But who cares, right? Because now middle school is over, time to triple that work rate. You snooze, you lose, because we're in high school now. High school was more difficult coursework and it required considerably more effort. And here I am freshman year with this same mindset, this ridiculous belief that my identity as Richard was completely tied to being a high flyer. My class was a very competitive class. We were only 12, and so everybody knew everybody's business basically. And we were the type to discuss grades immediately we got them back. And I think in high school, people just got hyper about grades because now we all knew everything was counting towards college. I think we all went through this stupid phase of saying we got a higher grade than we actually did, or only telling people you trusted your grades because you didn't want anybody else to know. For me, this feeling of shame that came with admitting my subpar grade would always haunt me. And of course, when I did well, I would act all cool and just pray and hope that people would come ask me what I got so I could tell them my badass grade and just act like it was nothing. But my class had this reputation of taking competition to the extreme, to the point where it could become very toxic. One teacher actually described us as crabs in a bucket, with each one pulling the other down just to get to the top. In high school, I would encounter classes like physical science, biology, geometry, algebra 2, where getting grades in the 70s and 80s became all too familiar for me. And that completely shattered the image I had of myself because I wasn't used to getting grades like that. I really had to rethink how I saw myself as a student because I knew I was a hard worker, I knew I studied hard, but it just wasn't working out in certain classes. Could I then say that I was a failure just because I didn't get good grades in some classes while I was doing well in others? That would be a bit unfair, and it would be totally dismissive of the hard work I would put into preparing for each test I took. So I decided, you know what, to hell with other people's judgments, my grades are my own. I'm going to work hard to get good grades. If it works out, fine. If it doesn't work out, I'll try my best next time, and if it doesn't work out next time, I'll keep trying my best. But no longer will I tie my self-worth to how well I do in school. Being honest with myself helped me to appreciate my work a lot more, and it began the healing process from this toxic mindset that I had cultivated for years. But it was still not very easy to unlearn it completely. You see, the school environment, like any other school really, was one where kids who did well and got good grades were seen as the standard, and those who didn't do so well were seen as unserious or bad company. Hard work, or what I would even consider overworking yourself, was highly encouraged. If you could do that well, then I'm pretty sure you were seen as a good student. But the truth is, many of my classmates and schoolmates were just like me, driven by this desire to impress their parents, hostile parents, teachers, mentors, everybody. And all this pressure to pursue excellence was about one thing: college. Everything was about college. Your GPA had to be perfect for college. Your SAT scores had to be perfect for college. Your extracurricular activities had to be well diversified for college. College is a different level, they would tell us, and we internalized that deeply. But it wasn't until I was sitting on stage on my graduation day listening to my friend give the valedictorian speech that it just clicked. All this hard work, all this pressure we put ourselves under, wanting to be the best in the class, all the rapports that we built with teachers who knew us well and pushed us to be the best, only to go to college where nobody knows who the hell you are and start all over again. It's not just that nobody knows who you are. Nobody cares about your achievements in high school because they were all like you in high school. And this brings me to the first thing college taught me. You may not be the smartest person anymore. Deal with it. Everybody was as smart as, if not smarter than me. I did well to get into a good competitive college. So did everybody else. And you begin to realize that all your high school achievements don't really mean that much now. All those things you held on to so tightly and tied your self-worth to really don't count for anything now. And just a side note, it's actually very common to see kids who were high flyers in high school end up on academic probation in college for doing so poorly. There are no rules to this game, you just have to do the best that you can. In college, everybody's trying to create a path for themselves, and we all realize that life is much bigger than what happens in school. And school isn't the #1 priority for everyone in college. Some people have kids that they need to worry about taking care of. Some people are married and they want to nurture their relationship. Athletes, for example, dedicate their life to sport and hopefully going pro someday. All sorts of examples. And so I found that academics were obviously important, but not the most important thing. College is more than academics. It's about networking, meeting like-minded people, discovering who you are, enjoying your life before the real world starts. But I will say though that this is a generalization because of course there are people who prioritize school above other things, sometimes because they have to. Many college friends of mine seem to have their lives taken over by the academic demands of their majors. They had to keep their studies here as #1 because they couldn't afford to slack. Architecture. But generally speaking, you're free to do as you like in college. It's up to you to set your own routine and nobody's going to force you to do anything. And above all, your grades are yours to ponder. There isn't as much of a, hey, what did you get? Because nobody cares. Besides, there's only so far school and grades can take you. You could be great in school, but are you street smart? Are you able to function outside of the school environment and get the best for yourself? At some point, you have to live beyond your academic achievements and instead position yourself strategically for life where grades won't matter that much. The last thing I learned is that school doesn't really teach you how to take care of yourself. In college, I was made hyper aware of how hard people have it. You really don't know what other people are going through. Horrible home life, mental health issues, physical health issues, anything you can think of. But I think what surprised me the most was the number of smart kids or high flyers who complained about not being able to handle the stress or just didn't want to deal with school anymore. You see, school molds you into a good employee or somebody who could be a leader someday, but not necessarily someone who knows how to take care of yourself. Although I do think this is changing as more mental health campaigns are being promoted in schools these days. But the smart kids or high flyers do tend to put themselves under severe stress just to be the best. And that can sometimes be detrimental to biological, social, and psychological well-being. I, for one, really learned the importance of taking care of myself and my friends in college. So by all means, please work hard, but not at the expense of your health and growth. Take up challenges, but also be honest with yourself and acknowledge your limitations. We all need to chill out sometimes. I haven't said all this to bash the pursuit of excellence mindset. It's actually very essential for life because it pushes you to be the best in everything. And the joy that comes with seeing your hard work being rewarded is invaluable. Passing a difficult class, graduating college, landing your dream job, getting your first apartment, receiving an honor. These are things that you should be proud of because you know what it took to get there. But I just think that where education systems are concerned, the ethos is too often focused on facilitating this high flyer mindset that sometimes unintentionally comes at the expense of the student. And in my opinion, that just misses the true purpose of education. Education is more than the assessments and the grades. It's about learning and retaining information that will enrich your skill set and will broaden your worldview to equip you for life. You probably can't do much to change the education system, but you can be more intentional about bringing a more balanced approach to your academic pursuits, recognizing the importance of always working hard, but also knowing when to give yourself a freaking break. So yeah, I just wanted to share all this with you guys. I hope it made some sense and you were able to relate to a lot of it. But please feel free to put down your thoughts and comments in the comment section. I would love to hear about your experiences with school and the high flyer mindset, everything we talked about in this video. And I will see you in the next one.